Progress.
And Chair, we still have like a minute or two before we are at 9 o'clock. We did get a message from Commissioner Lather that she's running a few minutes late. And we're also waiting for Supervisor Koenig.
Highway 1 is doing its regular slow crawl this morning. Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome. I ask staff to the roll call.
I'll do the roll call, Chair. Thank you. Commissioner Jim Anderson,
Present.
Commissioner Roger Anderson.
I'm here.
Commissioner Jessen Cummings.
Here.
Vice Chair Manu Koenig. Absent. Commissioner Rochelle Lather. Absent. Commissioner Eduardo Montesino.
Here.
Commissioner Alan Timms.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Ed Banks.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Zach Friend. Absent. Chair John Hunt.
Here.
And alternate Commissioner Fred Keeley. Absent. That's roll call, Mr. Executive Officer.
Chair, we do have a quorum, and for any items, any action items for the district seat, Commissioner Banks will be voting until Commissioner Lather arrives.
Thank you. And Mr. Serrano, do you have an executive officer's message?
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, just a reminder to the commission and members of the audience, we are conducting this meeting under a hybrid approach. So commissioners will be here in person unless they meet their criteria to work remotely. For staff and the public, they have the option to join us in person or virtually. For any members of the public that like to speak on any agenda item this morning, they will have up to 3 minutes. For those joining us in person, they could join us at the podium and state their name. For those joining us virtually, they can click on the reactions tab and raise their hand. We will inform them when they have 1 minute left and when their time is up, and then we'll mute their microphones. So again, this is just a quick overview of the hybrid process. I also wanted to give a quick update on Big Basin Water. First is they now have a new judge that's overseeing the case. Secondly is it's our understanding that Moonshot Missions, which is a nonprofit organization that's conducting a forensic audit of the water system. It's my understanding that that report has been completed. It's in the hands of the receiver, the court receiver, and I believe it's going to be published sometime in the near future, sometime this month, hopefully within this week. And lastly, staff is going to provide a more thorough update on the status of Big Basin Water Company, its next steps, its potential future at our next meeting on November 6th. And Chair, that concludes my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the executive officer on process? Hearing none, I'll ask if commissioners have any questions or comments on the minutes. I'll ask for a motion to.
I would move approval. I'll second that.
Moved by Commissioner Cummings, seconded by Commissioner Jim Anderson. All in favor?
Aye. Close. Me then, Justin.
Oh, did I miss you? Gosh. It's which way I'm looking, not which way I'm listening. Okay. Sorry, Alan. Moved by Alan Timms. Okay. I'll ask Mr. Serrano if we've received any oral communications, online or otherwise.
We do have a request to address the commission at this time. I'll invite Ms. Virginia. She is a commissioner for San Mateo LAFCO. And I'll let her speak.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Virginia Chang Corrali, and I am one of the special district representatives of San Mateo LAFCO. I am running to be your special district representative for the coastal region on the Cal LAFCO board. I am honored to have the support of San Mateo LAFCO and be their nominee for the Cal LAFCO board. I have the privilege and honor of serving on two special district boards in San Mateo County, the San Mateo County Harbor Board of Commissioners and the Menlo Park Fire Protection Board of Directors. My professional background is in financial research and investments and as a former senior director of the NASDAQ stock market. I have also been involved with advocacy work for my two elected boards and nonprofits such as the California State Parks Foundation, on which I've served their board that I served for 12 years. Cal LAFCO has a wonderful opportunity to play a bigger role in advocacy work at the state level, especially when the need for collaboration is greater than ever as our local communities deal with housing, transportation, public safety, infrastructure needs, and essential services and the like. As a fire board director and a harbor board commissioner, I understand the breadth of coastal issues from wildfires, which affect the entire state of California, to maritime issues for infrastructure needs and local economic development needs for California's fishing industry, and equally important, farming and agriculture, which are big parts of the district I represent on the San Mateo County Harbor. The opportunity for Cal LAFCO to be more involved with advocacy at the state level is one of the many reasons I would like to serve on the Cal LAFCO board as the Coastal Region Special District Representative. Of course, as Cal LAFCO moves forward in this strategic direction, there must be an inclusive process that has integrity and transparency. As a former member and foreperson of the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury, I've ensured that good government, accountability, transparency are part of local government. I believe in an inclusive process and independent thinking that represents the coastal region and will bring these qualities to the Cal LAFCO board. Today, I simply wanted to introduce myself to you and let you know that I'm proud to be a candidate for the Coastal Region Special District seat on the Cal LAFCO board and would be grateful for your support. You should have these comments in front of you. And if you have any questions, my contact information is on here. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Chair, just for a little bit more context, at our annual conference, which is in 2 weeks, it's going to be held in Yosemite. Each year, the Cal LAFCO board of directors conducts its elections for any vacancies on the Cal LAFCO board. For the coastal region, there's 2 seats that are going to be open for election. That's going to be the county seat. There's 2 candidates for those seats, for that seat. We have one commissioner from Monterey County, another one from San Benito County. For the other seats, for the district seat, we have 3 candidates, including Miss Virginia. We also from San Mateo LAFCO. We also have Mike McGill from Contra Costa LAFCO. He's currently the incumbent. And we also have a third candidate, and his name is escaping me at the moment, from Ventura LAFCO. Just as a additional comment, I think this is my first time I've seen in my 16 years an actual candidate going up and down the coast, physically expressing her interest to be on the Cal LAFCO board. Just wanted to share that with the commission, but that's her reason for being here today. So I appreciate her time to visit us.
Thank you again. Are there any other public comments? Nothing online? Comments from commissioners? All right, our next item is a special presentation on County Service Area 11. Ask for presentation.
Thank you, Chair. I'll introduce our guest speaker, Jeff Gaffney. He's the director for county parks, and he'll be presenting. This is a new segment that LAFCO has been doing these last month or so. We'll see how long I can do this before Netflix contacts us. But this is an opportunity for us to kind of look back on major projects that we completed and learn did it meet our expectations? Were there lessons learned that we should look into? And rather than just hearing from staff, I wanted Director Gaffney to provide us an update of what happened after the dissolution of Opal Cliffs Recreation District. As you may recall, that had some controversies. It had a gate up, so you had to pay to access their facilities. My understanding is after the dissolution, those gates went down. But what else has occurred? What else has the county provided that community since the dissolution? So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Chair Hunt and fellow commissioners, appreciate being here. Jeff Gaffney, Director for your County Parks Department. Wow, with an intro like that, I don't know. I didn't have a camera following me around, but I wish I had, be like a whole action shots in the bathroom or who knows, whatever else. You might have a dirty bathroom or anyway, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this actually started several years ago, and I'm going to go on to the next slide. Thank you. We were in conversation with the Opal Cliffs Recreation District about how we could help provide them with better services, and at the same time, they were being they had some disagreements with the Coastal Commission about how they operated their jurisdiction. We came in as just a support network to them, some source of ability to get some of the basic functions done. That was ongoing from 2017-18 until 2022. So in between that time frame, of course, the pandemic happened, but we basically started just providing them services as a courtesy. Simple things like fixing little broken items around the district, repairing the stairs occasionally, trash removal, recycling. We were doing a lot of that for them. Prior to that, it had been a little bit kind of hit or miss. So as things progressed, they came to the conclusion as a board, obviously, that they were no longer able to provide the services that they needed. I don't know if you need the entire background on what went on with the Cliffs, but I think that you touched on that earlier. They were charging for entry an exorbitant amount. So it was basically only people who could afford to go there. They had a locked gate, not really what you think of as your typical public park, especially in our county. So we were able to negotiate with them about how we could open and close the gate for them during daylight hours. There are concerns about public safety at night and parties that had gone on in the 70s and 80s. We wanted to validate those and honor the concerns they had. So fast forward, the board obviously came to the conclusion, as we are now standing here today, that this wasn't going to work out as a district without being able to charge the money that they wanted to charge. And so they didn't have the ability to support staff. It came down to really, I think, a very difficult decision, because this had been a district that was originally a local homeowners association kind of thing to begin with, local folks that were kind of taking care of it as though it were an HOA, and now it's become a public agency over the course of decades. And so after coming to that conclusion it was August of 2021, they came to LAFCO, and then eventually in February of 2022, the dissolution occurred, and in April of 2022, so almost 2.5 years ago, it became a county park. So that's just your quick snippet of where we were and how we got to where we are. Since that's happened, so in the last 2.5 years, a lot of things have happened that we all recall. Some of those things are massive storms that have done incredible damage. So we were really lucky to take on a new park that ended up having a lot of storm damage after we took it over, but we were able to consolidate the permitting process. So this is one of those benefits you have of having kind of a larger, broad bureaucracy involved. And I hate to call our organization that, but it is. And so we were able to consolidate the permitting process with the Coastal Commission, and we included the repairs that we had to do, the large repairs to the stairs to make sure that access was available. Also during this time, we were able to remove the gates so that there's full public access at all times, typical and in line with all of our other coastal access points as a county agency. To the typical visitor at this point, Opal Cliffs County Park looks like any of other county access points. And on the upside, on a regular basis, we have staff going there every day. We have staff who are able to handle any of the basic repairs, pick up trash, do maintenance of landscaping. For anybody that hasn't been there, it's a spectacular little tiny, less than an acre sized park, but it has intensive landscaping that needs to be maintained on a regular basis. We're also working currently with FEMA to recover some of the costs that we put into repairing the stairs. And also looking at the future, we're probably going to have to do some updated repairs, some significant hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of repairs that we're going to be looking at grants, probably with the Coastal Conservancy for. So all of those things, I believe, would not be possible if we hadn't been able to absorb this little gem of a park, which was its own park district for a long time. Next slide. A couple of things that I wanted to really highlight was that obviously it's more inclusive, the space is now. We actually have the Black Surf Club doing their programming right out of there. We have other programs that we're doing right now out of the Opal Cliffs County Park that we weren't able to do. It's centrally located, easy for people to walk to and bike to. So it's great access. We improved the ADA access. It was non-existent. There wasn't a parking space. There was a sign that was kind of hanging broken and not looking so great. So we're going to continue to do that. We need to do some work on the tarmac. People know who to call if they need any information, or if they need services, or if they need a repair done. So there's improved signage. And as I said, services are readily available on any given day. So what did we learn? As the dissolution decision occurred, some of the things we didn't do well is we didn't have a linear process in place as an organization. We as the County Parks Department didn't see next steps. Sure, there was some very specific logistic issues we needed to address, but there weren't things that we looked at how we could do this to be more efficient and effective. And I think this gives us a good blueprint on how I would say we could do it in the future, or how another organization could do it. Some of the things we missed. I think one of those ones that was really straightforward and simple was we made an assumption that communication was going on with the board, the Opal Cliffs Recreation and Park District Board, and that this communication that we were doing was clear and also accurate. And it turns out that maybe some of that wasn't going on. So we should have definitely been better about our communication and how we did that, and have everybody being on the same page and communicating more effectively. And then also really making sure everybody completely understood the outcomes and how it was going to move forward. And so this was the first time I'd been part of this in my career, and I've got 30 some odd years in it. So as I've learned every day, there's less and less I know. So I learned something out of this, and I think we definitely can do better next time. And I'm happy to share any information from what we learned with anybody that has any questions, or this board or staff. So that's my quick, didn't want to take too much of your time, but I wish I had an exciting documentary, and maybe we can have some closing music. So anyway, any questions you have?
Thank you. Let me ask if there are any questions from the public. Anything online?
No, sir.
Commissioners, questions? Roger?
Well, I don't
Or
have,
Jim, excuse me, Jim.
don't have a question, but I've been on LAFCO quite some years, and Patrick McCormick and I have met and gone to some of their board meetings, and it's the only board meeting that there were commissioners drinking beer. Well, it was held upstairs at the public room at one of the rooms. But it was one of the more interesting.
Yeah,
I'm happy to see that. So hopefully you don't have the parties that you used to.
no, hopefully some of the parties are occurring in our parks that we supervise, but not within our organization. Yes.
Well, this is a good indication of what LAFCO can do, because it needed to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Commissioner Roger Anderson?
Yeah, I'm curious about the ADA access. You showed lots of pictures that were beautiful of all these stairs. And I'm curious about, do you come in from below? Is that the way ADA is being provided, or exactly how's that accomplished?
Oh, great question. So with our partnership with our nonprofit, County Park Friends, we actually have an access manager that works at County Park Friends, and we consulted her, Brenda Gutierrez. And as you may or may not be aware, Opal Cliffs is by its nature not accessible to the beach itself. So it's in a very steep bluff that has a significant staircase that goes down to the water and to the beach. But the access that you have for the view shed and the beauty of the landscape in the park is available. So we are looking at ways where we can make it more accessible to be closer to the bluff in a safe manner. And that's something that is a capital project that we have talked about. But we just consulted Brenda on how best we could make it accessible to at least get to that area and what her thoughts were. And then just improving the parking spot that was there.
Any other questions? Commissioner Koenig?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Gaffney. Yeah, I think overall the transfer of this park to County Parks Management has been pretty flawless. There was just like 1 or 2 days where it was unclear who was going to pick up the garbage, but we got through that all right. I mean, you might want to go back to the first slide. You shared the cover slide, and you mentioned it briefly. The significant repairs are going to be needed soon, and you can see there with that main pillar that it's exposed at the bottom. The rock used to go all the way around the base of that. I mean, in recent memory, like I think maybe before 2023 storms. And so it is, I'm glad you mentioned we're going to need hundreds of thousands in repairs soon. Could you just talk a little bit more about that timeline, when you think we'll apply for I think you mentioned a coastal conservancy grant, or if there's any others available, because it is a beloved park, would hate to lose access, and would like to be proactive in terms of ensuring we can maintain access.
Good. Yes. The governor swept a number of funds that the Coastal Conservancy had that we were looking at that would have potential. So that said, I think some of that money may be refunded in the coming years. If Proposition 4 is passed, there will be some dollars available, significant dollars available for that. Those are the dollars that we specifically are looking at. We did have an engineer and our park planning staff go out and look at this. As you're absolutely right, looking at this, it's a great point to point this out. That was surrounded by rock, but as we understand it, it's okay right now, according to our engineer and our planning staff. But we know that this isn't going to last long, and especially with sea level rise and climate change. So we have not identified any funds right now, but we have identified the fact that we're going to target those funds in the future. We have had the conversations with both the Coastal Conservancy and the Coastal Commission staff. The other funds available for this specific location we don't have any yet.
Thanks. And then I know there's actually a couple other, I think they were private access points, stairways that look very much like this, but have since fallen into disrepair. As private property owners try to figure out what they're going to do with their coastal frontage. Has the Parks Department been in conversation with any of those property owners about, if they are ever able to figure out a solution, would we manage those stairways as well? Would they give them over to us, or how would that work? Do you see any opportunities to increase just the number of access points here?
Yeah, absolutely. As part of our coastal encroachment program, we are currently working towards complete and holistic plans in neighborhood sections instead of trying to take piecemealed this staircase or that neighborhood. And so, as you may or may not be aware, I know we've had some conversations around this. There are existing plans on the books from going back to the 70s and 80s that identify pathways and structures that our community can get around on, that at some point our community or our county decided that we didn't want sidewalks, we didn't want subdivisions. And so we're trying to figure out how we can live in that world. That said, we also are working with a planning grant we got from the Coastal Commission that is identifying routes of travel and how we can best deal with sea level rise as it pertains to Schwann and Corcoran and Moran lakes, lagoons, and the pathways around that. And a big piece of that is going to be bicycle and pedestrian routes and access points to the beach. And so that's over $600,000 in planning that we're going to be doing around this very topic. So I'm not prepared to say that we will absolutely accept this stairway or that access point without having a more holistic plan. So within the next 18 months, I'm certain that I'll be able to say, yes, this makes sense, or that doesn't make sense.
Great. That's exciting planning. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Could you tell us a bit more about the original justification for the locked gate, and if there's been any misuse of the property since the gate was removed?
Yeah, absolutely. So the justifications I heard at different times, I heard different justifications, but ultimately it was for security purposes and safety. And so there was concerns there would be partying, or that people could get injured, or other types of public safety occurrences might happen, and that the best thing they could do is have a gate that people could access as residents with a key card. So it was a magnetic, it changed over time how it was used, but there used to be a regular old key like we used to use in the old days, and then it became a magnetic one. And so residents who were part of the district were given those cards at a discount. And then you could go to the skateboard shop on the corner and buy one for $100. So you would, if a resident wanted one, they get one for $50, and then a non-resident would get one for $100, and it would get them access. So it was absolutely to control who used the park. And for a core value from my entire time in my profession, that's not okay. Sorry, I'm just going to comment on that.
Have there been any problems since the gate was removed?
No, absolutely. We actually have had more problems in other parks. You may or may not be aware, we've had a number of arson attempts in different parks in the Live Oak area. They've tried to burn down our bathrooms. They've tried a ton of other issues that have gone on over the last year, and nothing's happened at Opal Cliffs County Park.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Chair, I'll just echo that. I wanted to appreciate Director Gaffney's leadership and his staff on this transition. It worked out because it was a collaboration of the district, the county, and LAFCO on determining how can we provide the best level of service to the residents and to the community and to the public as a whole to have access to this great location. So I just really want to thank you for the leadership and the continuous effort to provide a great level of service to the public.
Thank you. And you guys have a great staff. They do an amazing job. We're so lucky to have them. And thank you for all your hard work. Thank you.
Agreed. Thank you.
And you don't have to stay for the whole meeting, Jeff, so.
Okay, our first public hearing item is the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District Service and Sphere Review.
Thank you,
Strong.
Chair. I'll keep this presentation brief. This multi-county district was formed back in 1972. As you can see, it covers San Mateo County, Santa Clara County, and Santa Cruz. A small portion of the district provides services to our county, and that's what we're going to focus on. Your staff did a deep analysis of the district, and I just want to just briefly go over the key findings. The first one is that it provides services to all guests, very, very similar to the port district or healthcare district, that anyone that wants access to these services are eligible to. So they provide services beyond their jurisdictional or the population within their jurisdictional boundary. The next finding is that Santa Cruz LAFCO is not the principal LAFCO, meaning if the district wanted to annex territory into Santa Cruz County, they would not submit an application to LAFCO. So under state law, when there's a district that provides services in multiple counties, we need to designate a principal LAFCO. And that designation is based on assessed value within the district's location. So in this case, San Mateo LAFCO is and continues to be the principal LAFCO because the vast majority of the assessed value of the district is in their county. So we would need to coordinate with San Mateo LAFCO in the event that the district wanted to annex or make any changes of organization. While we are not the go-to LAFCO.
Sorry to interrupt. Mr.
Yes.
Strong. You mean Santa Clara LAFCO or?
I'm sorry, Santa Clara LAFCO. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not clear.
yeah. Sorry about that. Thanks for the clarification. Santa Clara LAFCO is the principal LAFCO. While we are not the principal LAFCO, we're not restricted to do service reviews. So this is something that staff wanted to provide as additional resources. So that's the reason why we've conducted this report. As part of our analysis, we do look at the financial health of the district, and we did notice that it had or experienced annual deficits these last 5 fiscal years. We did coordinate with the district to get clarifications of that, and it's based on their scheduled capital improvement plan. So they did a large amount of improvements, including the building of their new administrative office. So that definitely affected their bottom line, but they are financially sound. They, as of this past fiscal year, they ended with a fund balance of over $100 million. So they are financially okay. The third thing is, or the fourth thing is that they also operate a robust, transparent website. They met all the benchmarks that LAFCO looks for, except one. We are recommending that they have access to or links to service reviews done by LAFCOs, whether it's San Mateo, Santa Clara, or Santa Cruz. I think that would add more value and provides a clearer story from an outside perspective, analyzing their district. So we recommend that they include that in their website. And finally, we do have a small sphere, as you can see on the map, just showing the area that's within our county. Santa Clara LAFCO has adopted a multi-county sphere. That's not shown on this map. So staff is recommending that we reaffirm the sphere we have for our county, with the condition that we should coordinate with the affected LAFCOs and the district to see whether or not the district plans on annexing territory in Santa Cruz County, because they do own some parcels in Santa Cruz County, but they're not within their jurisdictional boundary. So we may want to kind of form a stakeholder group and have these discussions. We did do that 5 years ago, and Commissioner Roger Anderson was part of that stakeholder effort. At that time, the district did not express interest of annexation. So we want to just circle back and see if anything has changed. Chair, with that, staff is recommending that you determine that this report is exempt from CEQA, that it fulfills the requirements under 56.425, which is the sphere determinations, and 56.430, which is the service determinations, and that you adopt the draft resolutions approving this report, as well as the identified conditions, including reaffirming the sphere boundary for the district. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Serrano. Are there any questions or comments from the public?
Good morning, Becky Steinbrenner. Apologize for being late. Traffic and parking are really amazing out there. Thank you for this report. I found it very interesting. I would like, as a member of the public, to see more pressure put on the Mid-Peninsula Open Space District to annex those parcels. And also, I just want to mention that this district is one of the main financial supporters of local Measure Q. And I was quite surprised to see that relatively a small amount of land in Santa Cruz County is owned by this district. And yet they are spending a lot of money for the passage of Measure Q that would bring them a lot of money. So just a thing of local political note regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything online?
No, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, I had some questions about the money too. I mean, $100 billion fund balance is pretty enviable. How do we get that? So could you just comment on how the open space district is funded? Is it a parcel tax within the area? How do you know how big that tax is?
Yeah, so it's a great question. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, Francisco, their revenue stream is somewhat limited, but they do get property taxes. And again, the assessed value is high in the 3 counties. Also charges for services. And I don't know if they have a parcel tax or not, but their revenue stream is limited, but they do get a large amount of it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I can't tell you the specifics.
Is Director Gaffney, do you have
great.
more information?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but they created a tax base that was prior to Prop 13. And so they have a portion of the property taxes that goes prior to Prop 13. So their revenues grow significantly as a result of that. They also have a large parcel tax that they paid. They went out to bond for. They went out to a significant number of bonds. I think it was AA was the prop measure. So it's a unique situation. And as we know, there's a disparate amount of property taxes given back to both San Mateo and Santa Clara County. So the districts in all 3 counties, Santa Cruz, San Mateo, and Santa Clara counties, and the tax base and the return of property taxes from the state is quite disparate compared to us. I think it's 55 cents per dollar given back to them in Santa Clara, and San Mateo is similar versus our 13 cents on the dollar.
Yep, and thank you, Director. And I'll just note that for this past fiscal year, property taxes represented 80% of their revenue stream. And for this past fiscal year, they got $70 million in property taxes.
Wow.
But again, they're multi-county, so that's a factor.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know certainly the success of this district, I mean, it's true, has led some of our local land management organizations to, ultimately pursue Measure Q so that we have some comparable revenue source. I'm suspicious of the accusation of member of the public that the district itself would actually be behind Measure Q since that's a political activity, but perhaps some of the nonprofit organizations associated with it that help provide funding, seeing the success of this district would also be actively involved in trying to help Santa Cruz achieve something similar.
Thank you.
Commissioner Timms?
Thank you, Chair. Quick question. The report concludes financial stability when in 22 to 23, they took in $70 million and spent $88 million. Did I read that right? And how is that being rectified? Is that just a one-off? Is it a anomaly?
Right. So that's something that we did also ask the district staff to clarify, and they did mention that they had scheduled capital improvements, and specifically in that fiscal year 22-23, they completed the construction of their administrative office, which included a large expense. That was their justification for that deficit for that fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I'll entertain a motion on the recommended actions.
I'd like to move the motion.
Moved by Commissioner Roger Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Cummins. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, our next public hearing. Oh, no, that's our public hearing. So our next item of business is the CSA 48 reorganization effort. Mr. Strano.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a quick verbal update. So since our last meeting, there's been some activities regarding the potential reorganization of CSA 48 at the last Board of Supervisors meeting last month. They did discuss CSA 48's master plan. And they also, the Board of Supervisors in the county kind of went over the areas of improvement for CSA 48. They did move forward with staff's recommendation to coordinate with LAFCO and CAL FIRE to explore this potential reorganization effort involving CSA 48. So LAFCO staff appreciates the direction from the Board of Supervisors to analyze this concept in more detail. As part of this staff report, it includes a draft outline of this reorganization plan / feasibility study. This will really look at the status of CSA 48 and how this new independent fire district could function. What's going to be the governance? We listed a number of questions for each of these main categories of governance, operations, finances, etc. So this is going to be the blueprint that we use, but the main thing is that LAFCO is going to coordinate with the county and CAL FIRE to actually develop this plan. We also included a tentative schedule to complete this reorganization effort, including the analysis. This making the assumption that if the plan determines that this makes sense and makes the assumption that the CAL FIRE and the county want to move forward with this tentative schedule kind of shows the milestones for that process. Again, it's premature to say whether or not this is going to be feasible, but I wanted to provide the commission kind of the next steps if everything goes according to plan. But the first thing is to continue coordination with the county and CAL FIRE, develop this reorganization plan. We do have representatives from the county here, so I really appreciate both of you gentlemen being here today. But again, this is just a quick update to let the commission know that the affected parties are working together. We're going to be working on this plan, and then we're hoping that a final version of this report will be presented to the commission in April of 2025. So around 6 months from now. Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the public?
Thank you. I'm Virginia Chang Corrali, and I'm currently serving on the San Mateo County Harbor Board and on the Menlo Fire Board. And I just want to thank Santa Cruz County for the work that y'all did during the CZU lightning fire. It was huge, and it spanned 2 counties, including the district that I serve on the Harbor Board, which is the South Coast Pescadero, that area all the way down to the Santa Cruz County line. Whatever y'all do and decide to do, and I actually support what you're doing. I just want to thank you for having this common purpose of keeping our community safe. Menlo Fire was able to assist in like some of the small volunteer areas, and I think we brought in a water tiller, and there was a need, and so we got a call, and so we did whatever we could. But it's going to take a real community effort to just continue to be watchful and prepared. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Good morning, Becky Steinbruner. I'm a resident of the Aptos Hills and property owner within CSA 48. I'm very interested in seeing how this goes. I'm disappointed that the County Board of Supervisors dissolved the County Fire Department Advisory Commission in advance of this happening. The new body that is supposed to take their place, the Department Advisory Group, is not assembled. We don't know what that will look like or when they will even come on. So I am very interested to see the outreach component of this. How will you gather information from not only those like myself in these service areas, but also those volunteers of County Fire who have never been consulted officially about how things went with the CZU fire. There needs to be an after-action review of that event with the volunteers. And I want to make sure that the whole volunteer component of this is not erased or minimized, because it was those volunteers, many of them, who stayed behind when there were no CAL FIRE resources. And they saved a lot of people and a lot of homes in their neighborhoods. So I want to make sure that whatever comes forth, that the volunteer component is maintained, that they continue to be well trained by CAL FIRE or by a captain of their own ranks who has experience and well trained. And it could be on a paid call or a stipend volunteer basis as it is now, but it's an important part of County Fire and should not be dismissed. The funding should certainly consider asking the County Board of Supervisors to use Proposition 172 money, which is available. This year alone, the county received an excess amount they were not anticipating of $1.7 million. Prop 172 is a statewide sales tax to fund public safety. Fire counts as public safety. Right now, it's all going with exception of 0.5% to that is funneled through County Fire Department, but goes to the County Fire Chiefs Association. That needs to change. And I encourage the County Board of Supervisors that are on this board to think about that and to do something about that, because there is money there to support this new effort. If only there's the will of the supervisors to make it happen. So again, those are my concerns. I'm going to be interested in on page 3 of 5, what will happen to the current inventory of apparatus and equipment owned and the replacement schedule. That's a very important piece because certainly the taxpayers have paid for that equipment. And although I do see CAL FIRE people take it out to incidents when County Fire volunteers are left in the station, I think that that is an important piece to look at. I am encouraged by the improved governance because it has not worked well having the County Board of Supervisors be the de facto board of directors. Placing county fire budget on the consent agenda at budget time speaks loudly of their understanding and their priorities. So I'm very happy to see the possibility of improved governance and transparency and accountability. Also know that regarding the radio system, CAL FIRE is not planning to go to the next gen radio systems that the rest of the county is moving toward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vicky.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anything online?
No, Chair, there is a staff recommendation to direct staff to continue coordinating with the county and CAL FIRE on this effort. So that is staff's recommendation. We do need a motion.
Thank you. Questions or comments from commissioners? Commissioner Koenig.
Thank you, Chair. First question for our executive director, and perhaps Director Beaton knows the answer to this, which is, do we know how the fire department advisory group, or I should say department advisory group, formerly the FDAC, will be involved in this transition?
Yes, so great question. It's my understanding that we want this to be a collaborative effort. So it would behoove the group to include this new advisory group as part of the discussion. That's the only way this is going to be successful is to make sure that this is a transparent effort. So it would benefit us to include that group, as well as before we even started this process, we did reach out to some community groups as well to gauge their interest or support. And we coordinated, for example, with Supervisor Cummings and met with the Bonnie Doon residents. So that's something that we'll continue to do as part of this process. Yes, this new group has now formed, and it's still establishing its structure and its policies and bylaws and composition. But this is not going to happen overnight. So as that structure is in place and they have members, we'll be coordinating with them in parallel with this effort.
Thank you, LAFCO Board. Michael Beaton, Director of General Services and County Fire Contract Administrator. The departmental advisory group that we are creating is probably going to be multifaceted. We are bringing it to our Board of Supervisors for approval and creation of a departmental advisory group. We are currently still working, Chief Wilson and I, on the objectives of what we actually want this departmental advisory group to accomplish. Some of the objectives that we took to the board as part of our county fire master plan involved a lot of operational type of issues that we'll have a group specialized in that area. We're also looking at the feasibility study of converting county fire into a independent special district. As part of the board direction that we did receive, it did include the exploration and inclusion of other fire districts into the feasibility. So we do plan on potentially including potential Felton Fire, Pajaro Valley Fire Protection District, as well as some other fire districts throughout the county. We'd also like to lean on the expertise of districts that have gone through this in the past, potential Chief Yee out of Central Fire. So the group is still being developed, and we are planning on bringing the item to the Board of Supervisors at the end of this month or the very first part of next month for the creation. And more than likely, it will be potentially a multifaceted group to help us accomplish quite a few different things throughout the time. Thank you.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. My other question is, I know that the Amador contract that we have between County Fire and CAL FIRE is in need of an update. I think we've kind of been in maintenance mode for a number of years now, and I haven't implemented any major changes, even though the shifting nature of the fire season requires that we do that in the near future. I'm just wondering if we anticipate any major restructurings of that contract before a contemplated shift to an independent special district or not, because obviously that has some major implications for funding.
Great question, and that's exactly a question that we identified in the outline of this transition plan of will and can this Amador plan continue or live under this new independent special district? That's a question that needs to be answered as part of this analysis. I don't know if Mr. Michael, if you want to add to it.
Thank you. No, that's absolutely correct. That is part of the county does benefit from what we would consider a legacy agreement with the state that isn't currently offered through new endeavors. So that is part of the feasibility that we really do need to study. There are some issues that the state has been experiencing through changing the working conditions. Changing the work week for firefighters, they're actually going to a more structured and scheduled system. We believe when the state makes this change, which they've partially implemented, you want to speak about it? Let me ask the expert to come up here. So, yeah.
So on our schedule change, should the bargaining unit 8 ratify their contract, which is in process right now, we will shift our employees to a 66-hour work week. They currently work 72 with a future of maybe a 56 like local government does to provide better working conditions and wellness for our employees. So we're instituting that in a tiered approach over a 5-year plan from the department. So this year we're converting one of our what we call Schedule B or wildland engines to a fire captain, an engineer, and a firefighter staffing on a platoon shift. And then we will move forward converting our 11 additional engines in the next 5 years. So that affects the Amador plan and the fact that the county right now pays for the firefighters only in what we call base period. With our new, if the contract ratifies, the base period will go from, it used to be 7 months, 5 months, 6 months. It was this evolving accordion. It will go to a fixed 3-month period, which is a large savings. And if we go to all of our engines being converted to 1 firefighter, right now we have 2 firefighters, so that would be half the firefighter cost. That would apply additional funds potentially within the county contract to provide a better, more improved service 24/7 to communities in the county.
Sure. So is the fixed period the off season or the on season?
So both. We are going to have, we used to have a tiered approach within CAL FIRE, like level 1, we'd bring on 7 engines. Level 2, you'd have 10 engines, and then level 3, you'd staff your 2-engine houses. We're now going to have peak and base from December 15th to March 15th is our base period. And from March 15th to December 15th is our peak period. And we will be staffed appropriately for the predicted conditions during those months at full staffing. And it's going to be, it's not like November 25th, this is happening perfectly. It's going to be over the next 5 years, but in 5 years, that is the department's goal.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else from commissioners? Commissioner Roger Anderson.
Yeah, I'm a little bit curious about the timing of this whole project. We're going to have a major report presented to us in April. And I assume that this will tell us whether or not we want to proceed with the project or not. What do you think the next steps would be, and over how long a period of time do you think it would take to do it?
So great question. And I will note that this is a tentative schedule meant for discussion purposes. So the dates are subject to change. So our goal is to present a reorganization plan / feasibility study in April. Hypothetically, let's say we do present that to the commission. That information, that report's also going to be presented to the County Board of Supervisors. And ultimately, it comes down to the interest of the county. They would need to initiate this effort. So assuming that the county agrees with the findings of the report and assuming that the county is willing to initiate this reorganization, then that kicks off the LAFCO process. And I anticipate that being an additional year to complete. So we're looking at a 1.5 to 2 years in total to complete this reorganization effort. But to answer your question, Commissioner Anderson, if we were to receive an application in May of 2025, it will take us about a year to complete this process.
Any other questions or comments? Staff has recommended actions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move recommended actions.
Moved by Commissioner Jim Anderson, seconded by Commissioner Koenig. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you. Yeah, next item of business is the City of Watsonville Notice of Preparation and the LAFCO comment letter. Director Serrano.
Thank you, Chair. We were informed by the city that they are working on an update to their general plan. They distributed a notice of preparation to all the local agencies for comments. The deadline is coming up soon, so LAFCO staff drafted a letter requesting that the city, as part of their analysis, to include their existing extraterritorial service agreements, to ensure, to not make the assumption that they are going to just annex these areas that are outside their city limits without including the LAFCO process as part of their evaluation. So we were just reminding them of LAFCO's existence and the LAFCO process if they were to consider developing in areas outside their current jurisdictional boundaries. So this letter kind of captures that, and staff is recommending that the commission approve this letter and direct staff to distribute this letter to the city before their upcoming deadline. And Chair, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the public?
Thank you, Becky Steinbrunner from the Aptos Hills. I was very interested in this report and surprised to see the large areas, the Buena Vista area, scheduled for dense development that is so close to the Watsonville airport. It is imperative that that effect be considered, and the fact that these are outside these areas, some of them are outside of the city's boundaries, is also concerning that they have not reached out to LAFCO yet. Thank you for the good letter reminding them to do so. But I would like to see full consideration given to preserving and supporting the continued use of the Watsonville Airport. We all know that when there are disasters, our county can easily and has easily become isolated from supply lines, medical supplies, patient transport. It is imperative that that airport stay open. And building developments around it, there has already been some discussion about closing the cross runway, which was going to be done, but was put aside because there had not been an environmental analysis of it or of this development proposal. It's concerning to me as a resident, because I have seen in many disasters, the Loma Prieta earthquake, the CZU fires, things when our main arterials coming into and out of this county are blocked, disabled, we have to have that airport. And I hope that in any way you as individuals, as LAFCO director, that you can do all you can to discourage development near the Watsonville airport that would in any way threaten the closure of that airport. For public health and safety reasons, it must stay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments online?
No, Chair.
Questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, we have recommended action. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Moved by Commissioner
I'll
Cummings,
second.
seconded by Commissioner Timms. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That's why I miss this. It's simultaneous. Okay, thank you. Okay, any written correspondence that staff would like to alert us to?
No, Chair, there's no written correspondence.
Okay. Okay. Anything in press articles that we should know about?
This is just a regular update to the commission on any related press articles that may be of interest to the commission, but no actions required. It's just providing some information to the commission.
Thank you. Next item is commissioners' business. Is there anything commissioners would like to share?
Chair, I would just note that the the CalAFCO Board of Directors did hold a special meeting earlier this week, and I just wanted to appreciate the attendance of Commissioner Jim Anderson and Roger Anderson. It was an interesting meeting regarding CalAFCO's future legislative committee. So I don't know if the commissioners want to add to it, but I just want to extend my appreciation for the commissioners to joining staff on that special meeting. And a full update on what I'm talking about is going to be provided at our November meeting after the CalAFCO conference completed.
Thank you. Anything else from the commissioners?
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, I was just going to say it was interesting to watch our LAFCO board in action, and it was at times a spirited conversation. But as Mr. Serrano mentioned before, we were signatories to a letter to keep the legislative group, and at that board meeting, they decided to rescind the new way and stick with that until further action can be taken. So our illustrious Roger Anderson.
I found a very interesting meeting. The background is that the board had unanimously approved the new legislative committee structure. And basically after this rather well attended, there were 60-some people at the Zoom meeting, that they have backed off and basically will take a look at this action at some later time. And I still, part of my problem, and I think it was underlying a lot of the concern, was it wasn't really clear what it was that the board was trying to do with that change. And so it is a real problem. And the question about whether or not CalAFCO should have a paid legislative advocate or not is unclear to me. But they did basically totally reverse themselves.
Right.
And I don't know what exactly why that happened, but it was a very interesting political process.
Thank you. And again, Chair, and for the full commission, staff will provide a more detailed discussion of what transpired, what happened, what are the next steps. I'm just waiting for the dust to settle and get past the conference so that way we can provide a more detailed update. But again, thank you for the two commissioners for joining staff.
I'm sorry I missed it. I had another meeting, but next time I'll
Yes, next
let the
time.
sparks fly. Anything else from any of the commissioners? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. 10:01.